Let's bring in Florida GOP Congressman Byron Donalds. He's a member of the House Budget Committee. Good morning, Congressman. The expectation is this will go over to your side of the legislature within a couple of days, perhaps by the end of the week. What do you expect to happen in the House?
Well, first of all, I expect it, unfortunately, that it's going to pass. Nancy Pelosi still has proxy voting rules from when the House was largely shut down because of COVID-19. Because the truth is that if she doesn't have proxy votes for her members, she loses votes on the House floor. So we're still voting remotely in the House, the silliest thing in American history. So we do expect it to come. Unfortunately, it looks like it will pass once it gets through the Senate. But this thing is an absolute tragedy for the American people. You talked about the IRS army. For the American people, that's on page 33 of this bill, the IRS army. Number one, most of the IRS agents aren't even back in the office. They're still working remotely. And then they're going to go find 80,000 more. That's insane.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Congressman. And Senator Susan Collins wanted to block that part of the bill because, like you said, it would hire 87,000 new IRS agents. Many of them aren't even in the workplace right now. And get this, the mass hiring would give more employees to the IRS than the Pentagon, State Department, the FBI, as well as Border Patrol combined. This is $80 billion to hire all of these agents. Is that what America needs right now?
No, what America needs right now is for these Democrat senators. I'm talking about Casto in Nevada. I'm talking about Deb Haaland in New Hampshire, Raphael Warnock in Georgia. I'm talking what they need to do, Mark Kelly in Arizona. They need to actually get those hires for border control and border security, so we're not losing 100,000 plus people a year to fentanyl overdoses. That's what they should be focused on in the United States Senate, not sending more employees into the IRS to harass American citizens just so they can squeeze every single dollar for their wasteful spending on green energy, which frankly does not work. It's not as green as they say, and it actually pollutes the environment when you look at the entire supply chain of solar panels and wind turbines.
So, Congressman, do you think this piece of legislation will be rubber stamped in the House? Is there any chance that any of those amendments that are getting shot down by Republicans now can be brought up in the House, or is that process even available?
We're going to do everything we can to bring those up. It's very tricky dealing with budget reconciliation. In the Budget Committee, we make proposals to the Rules Committee. It's a very inside the Beltway process, but we're going to do everything we can to try to hold them accountable. But I want the American people to understand this. They don't care about inflation. They don't care about cheap and affordable energy. What these Democrat senators and unfortunately these Democrat members of Congress only care about is their Green New Deal agenda, which is a tragedy for our country. It doesn't help us be energy independent, but House Republicans are going to stand firm to make sure that we either kill this bill altogether or make sure that we get as many of these subsidies, these boondoggle projects out of this bill and stop wasting Americans' hard-earned taxpayer dollars.
So, Congressman, switching gears, you know, the illegal immigration crisis seems to have made its way to your state, and it's a pretty fascinating development. Here's what's going on. Late last week, 12 different migrant landings, 108 illegal Cuban migrants arrested Friday, then 3 different landings, 42 more Cubans. And then yesterday, a landing near Key Largo. So this is 113 Haitian migrants now taken into custody. You know, we see what's happening at the southern border. We see where, by the way, these illegal immigrants are coming from. A lot of them, by the way, Venezuela, South America, Central America. So clearly there's an open door or a sign out that says open for business. But I'm curious, border enforcement through, you know, the waterways in Florida. Like, what are you seeing? We know so much about the southern border. What are you experiencing there in Florida?
Well, look, this is a real problem because that waterway is treacherous. People can easily die in that journey without question. You know, for a long time, the United States had wet foot, dry foot policy when it came to Cuban immigrants because they truly were escaping the tyranny of the Castro regime. And so when Cuban migrants land on our shores, you know, we want to make sure that we take them in. And at the end of the day, if there's an asylum process still going on in immigration services, we need to make sure that that happens because they are escaping tyranny. Let's make no mistake about it. And that's what the asylum process is for. So we had a couple landings here. It's not been the biggest weight on our border agents here in the state of Florida, but it pales in comparison to what's happening at the southern border. Because when people land on ships here, one thing we know is they're not bringing fentanyl with them, which is killing our citizens. What happens here is they're trying to escape extreme poverty in the case of Haiti or outright tyranny in the case of Cuba.
56 people on the terror watch list that we know of have tried to cross into our country, about 500,000 known gotaways. So you have to expect that number is higher in practice than what we know. Are you seeing any Democrats concerned about this issue, or anybody that might be leaning towards working with Republicans to try and figure something out to secure the border?
No. No, actually, there's not one of them that's really interested in it. The only Democrat I've even heard talk about the issue is Henry Cuellar out of Texas. But other than that, they are mum. We actually had a field hearing, select committee had a field hearing down in McAllen. The border was 2 miles away from the hearing. The Democrats didn't even want to go. They weren't even curious. So this is why I try to explain to the American people. It's one thing if there were proposals floating around Capitol Hill that we're debating. None of that is happening at all. Congressional Democrats, Senate Democrats do not care. They are not interested. They rather just raise taxes on the energy industry in this Inflation Reduction Act, which, by the way, America, is on page 633 of the bill. They rather raise taxes on the energy infrastructure in the United States than actually secure our border and make sure we don't have drugs flowing over into our communities, and to stop the cartel from making billions and billions of dollars every single year trafficking people into the United States.
You know, Congressman, Florida is an immigration state. There are a lot of immigrants that live in Florida. Like you said, many have come from Cuba as political dissidents. But I live in Georgia, and I know back in the 90s, the Coyote Corridor would basically follow I-40, I-20, come into Tennessee. Then you would either go to North Carolina or down to Florida to work in agriculture. Things have changed a bit. My town's a textile town. A lot of immigrants are there. In your state of Florida, with a large amount of Hispanic and South American and Caribbean immigrants in Florida that have both come illegally and legally, what are you seeing as far as, we saw Cubans turn towards Donald Trump. We saw the Rio Grande Valley turns towards Donald Trump. What is their perspective, being immigrants themselves, on the border crisis as it is now?
Well, look, people who've come to our country and escaped tyranny, they hate this illegal immigration situation going on. They do not like it. Polling is already starting to show that in the Latino community, they are not supportive of illegal immigration. There are people who truly escaped tyranny to come to the United States. If you talk to Venezuelans in Miami, Cubans in Miami, they will tell you the atrocities by their government. That's why they've come to America, the best country in the world. But just for people from all these different countries, more than 140, to be trafficked by the drug cartel, they find that to be obscene. They do not like it. They want a secure border. And once we secure our border, get border security under control, then we can start talking about immigration. But we can't get into immigration policy if we don't have a secure border. And that's what frustrates them. That's what frustrates me and so many Americans.
As we go, y'all want to see the congressman hit a curveball? Watch this. I bet he hits it over the park. Congressman, will Kevin Durant be traded?
Yes.
Where to?
Ooh, you know what? That's a good question. I don't know where he's going to go, but I think he's going to be traded. Look, at the end of the day, Kevin Durant is the best player in the game today. Everybody knows that. But the package has got to be right. There's not a team that wants to blow up their team just for KD to go there, because it's going to be the same thing that's happening in Brooklyn right now. I think the Nets should go ahead and make the move of trading Kyrie Irving. That situation is not going to work out. Go ahead and move KD, get some draft picks, get some young talent, and then rebuild the franchise. I want the Brooklyn Nets to be better. I'm from Brooklyn. I want them to be good, but it's not going to work out.
I knew you'd see the curveball coming right down the line, and
I can't even see the ball.
You'd aim for the fences.
A baseball analogy on a basketball question to the congressman on a politics show. I love it, Will. Thank you.
Congressman, great to see you this morning.
Anytime.
All right.